Bridging Bulldogs.
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 Bridging Bulldog Project.
Bridging Bulldogs.
Bridging Bulldogs, to me, is really an innovative, student-led program that seems to be pulling together system schools and BIPOC students across the state in ways that I have never seen before in my career in higher ed. I think it's an incredible model that other students should look to in the future, and it's really centering BIPOC students and bringing them into connection in a way that is so beautiful because it's around art and it's around identity and culture and really feeling proud of who you are. And I just love that, and I fully support students doing more of that work in the future.
Building community. It means bringing together groups of people that otherwise wouldn't have been connected. It means creating avenues for our students who, I think in other ways may have felt isolated or, disconnected from what feels like home, what feels comfortable, what feels familiar, giving them access to something that maybe we aren't able to provide here on our campus, or giving other students on other campus access to things that they may not have had access to on their campuses.
Bridging Bulldogs is basically an establishment between two institutions, and it means so much to me because I know that I am passionate about, bridging the community, and we are bridging both a PWI and a HBCU, and that's the biggest thing. It's something that has never been done before. A lot of people don't understand the disconnect that we sometimes have with HBCUs and PWIs, and I'm that type of person that always wants to do those hard things, talk about the hard things, and make sure that we're doing something that is beneficial for all.
Me and a new kid, we noticed the need of representation on both campuses. I think that I say growth because we laid the foundation, but that's just a seed, like imagine how many people we impact throughout the night. So the flower's gonna grow. And I just think that Bridging Bulldogs, I personally didn't see it going this far. When I plan things out, it's mainly for it's just in my brain. So I don't really think of it actually coming to life. So it's just okay, I'm gonna do this and that, and then boom. But then when the day comes and it's the planning, and then you seeing people excited, it's like,
I think the Bridging Bulldogs project is genius. I think it's so cool to have people of color come together from different schools, especially between HBCUs and PWIs, because there is some competition there, friendly competition, of course, but I think it's important to look at the bigger picture and know that, hey, whether you're at a predominantly white institution or not, you're still a person of color, and we all still have different and very similar experiences. And I think it's just awesome that Bridging Bulldogs even exists.
So I really liked that there were people from other schools that came, and there were people that I knew from Instagram or just word of mouth from other people, and being able to see them in person and being able to see just such beautiful parts of themselves in their artwork, I think was just really special today. And then seeing the panel, majority women of color, Black women, I think that was just so beautiful to see, and I don't think we see that enough, especially at a PWI.
I think that it's a good way to connect to other schools, and I think it's a good way to connect sort of the BIPOC community here, and just unite our allies.
To me, Bridging Bulldogs means unity in our community, because just because we have some students at a HBCU and some at a PWI doesn't mean that we have to be disconnected from our heritage or from our community. It just shows that we're all still one, and we're all still one with the Black community.
I love art because it's such a unique way to express yourself. especially with visual art. There's only so many things you can put into words, but you can't explain everything. So drawing, painting, all of that's a great way to express yourself in a genuine, more visceral kind of way. I like it when a viewer of my art puts in their own meaning. I like the idea that just because I put a certain meaning into my art, that doesn't mean it's the only meaning. The one with more green in it, I took a lot of inspiration from African paintings where the features aren't exactly head-on, they're from different angles and everything, put into a flat surface. And then the other one, it's very surreal and almost creepy because it's this figure staring right at you with one eye open.
I can't really get lost in other things like I can get lost in art, which is why I think I love it, and that's kind of, it's a release in a lot of ways. So I think music inspires me a lot, and just any type of music, all genres, all varieties. It's anything that I can really pick up that has it has an energy to it where it's like somebody really tried on this, and that's kind of the thing that inspires me is also people's other artistic visions, whatever it may be. I guess whenever you're an artist in the modern age, a lot of traffic that is like you want to get comes from online nowadays, and it's a lot easier to just like post your work, but it's super rewarding to have people be able to physically see your work at this point. So I've been having a lot of fun just seeing people stopping and staring, and it's like one of those. I don't have any boundaries whenever it comes to art, so I think that's kind of what makes me unique, and I love to throw a little bit of humor anywhere that I can. The title of my pieces are The Machine and The 13th Hour. The 13th hour comes from my inability to ever turn anything in on time, and to also I'm super indecisive about a lot of things, especially like reality. And with it being the 13th hour, that kind of comes into play with like time, and everything's just kind of like in a weird in-between as far as it goes, being like 13th. And then the machine is called the machine because it's the reasoning for everything bad in the world that we don't have an explanation for. And things like, why does death happen to good people? Why is there tragedy in the world? Why is there life in the world? I mean, like, and I think it's for a lot of things I can't personally put any reason into, hands or eyes or minds to, and just gotta kind of trust in it. So it's kind of like just a full freedom type of abstract expressionism.
I love art because it's always been a part of my life, and it's always been a way to express myself, whether it's visual or verbal, music, anything like that. It's always been a way for me to get an emotion out, and I think that's really awesome that I can do that and just have it all come from myself as well. They're actually both untitled. I didn't really think of a title. I just kind of spent time. I was like, oh, don't worry about the end product so much. And I really just wanted to focus on how I felt and putting that into a piece, which I am not too familiar with. But I really enjoyed doing that and kind of just focusing on the process of making the piece. Yeah, so the inspiration behind my first piece was actually the one with the big red figure in the background. And I was super inspired by Francis Bacon for that one and kind of dragging brush strokes of paint. But I was just going through a really rough spot at the time, and I was like, I feel like it is really disingenuous to be in a show like this where you're supposed to be showing what's your culture and who you are, to make a piece of work that's just like super pretty and that's all it is. So I really wanted to actually put emotion into a painting, and I see a lot of people connecting with it, which is super cool because I usually get a lot of technical compliments like this is drawn well, but I see a lot of people like, oh, I really resonate with this painting, which is super cool. And the other one, I really love self-portraits. Obviously, they're both self-portraits, but the other one I wanted to do different styles, and I really wanted to focus on my face and my profile, which I'm very insecure about. But I find that doing self-portraits or any figure work where you have to stare at yourself for a long time, you kind of get over those insecurities, and I'm more confident in my side profile now because of that. But those are my inspirations for those works.
I feel like music is a way to express myself. Sometimes I'm not the best at using words, and being able to express what I'm feeling through music is really nice and really freeing. There are a lot of people. My mom, just because I wouldn't be where I am without her. She's always been a huge support system for me. My friends, and honestly, UNCA, SGA, Sankofa, BSA, all of them, they're absolutely spectacular. What makes my work unique is that I really try to listen to people before me, artists before me, and incorporate not only my ideas, but some of their ideas as well. I really like to use space and have a conversation. Yeah. Honestly, I was sitting in a practice room trying to figure out what I wanted to play, and I was going for a lot of standards and songs that I play and like just make me happy. And songs I thought that the audience would also be able to enjoy.
I love art because it gives me a chance to, be myself and express myself, on a canvas instead of like through words. Because I do have trouble, speaking my words, speaking, how I really feel. And I feel like painting gives me the opportunity to let people, take what they want from it, if that makes sense. Majority of my work was inspired by my mom. She passed away in 2012, but she was pretty much my main supporter when I was a kid of like doing little doodles, making paintings for like school and stuff like that. So nowadays, even though that was a really dark time for me, I always try to paint with like really bright colors because that's what she would have liked, and that's what she usually liked when I made stuff for her. What inspired me is, again, I wanted to do something very, very bright and vibrant, because of course usually with shows like this, even though it isn't a bad thing at all, people do like paintings that are like really heart-wrenching and like, yes, this is Black power, this is stuff like that, but I wanted to do it from like a different standpoint and make it vibrant and colorful, to know that there's both ends of the spectrum. Even though there is a lot going on, you still have to look at it from like the bright side. And I'm a Black woman, I'm doing this, I'm out here and I'm making the best of it.
But really, I love art because it gives me a chance to tell my story, the story of my people, where I come from, and it's my form of communication. I'm a very talkative person, but it's a way that I could speak without speaking. Well, my paintings today, I would say, were definitely inspired by Jaffa. He has this video that he put together called Love is the Message, the Message is Death. And it's just kind of about like the Black experience in America. The whole thing is this dichotomy between good and bad and like love and hate. And so that influenced me, especially with this piece, because I kind of like he was stealing videos. I was cutting out pictures and also thinking about how, you know, ghetto is a thing that is deemed bad in American society, Black culture too. So flipping that to be something good. But, yeah.
And, you know, getting on a canvas, you know, I don't have to be shy. I don't have to be, you know, listen to what everybody else is saying. I could just be who I am and just express what I want to do. So that's why I love art, and it's just who I am. It's something that just comes so naturally to me, and that's, you know, I love art. You know, it's my baby. I call all my arts my baby. Divaland / soul, because that's what it has the name up there, Divaland. And I think what really inspired me is my experiences through life. And like I said, New Orleans inspired me, but I think, you know, my life inspires what I do a lot. And so that painting, Divaland / soul, represents, you know, a woman and, you know, her stepping into her element, her being who she needs to be in that time. And then it has like the red background to just, like for red, for me, it just represents, you know, a lot of emotions and, you know, just setting those emotions aside and just really just stepping in to who you need to be at that moment and not just worrying about whatever's happening. And I think that it shows exactly who I am in that moment, and that's why, you know.
Can we go back to 2018 when I first met you? You met me. College friendships always budding or busting. Not a centimeter connection, so trusty, yeah. Cut each other hair off, it's the real thing. You know somebody was a little different. I tell her everything and I do the same. I think I found a penny to my Dijon.
I feel like music is the first thing I've ever known. I come from a musical family. I was sang to all the time. There were always instruments around, so I had like things to play on. I guess I feel like I was doused in music. I had no choice but to love music. Definitely Amy Winehouse. I feel like finding someone in my similar vocal register was really nice to hear. I feel like, I don't know, I was really big into Disney princesses, so I always thought like everybody was supposed to sound like a soprano. But when I found out about it when she died. So when she died, I like got really into her music, and I was like, wow, I can do that. And then just ever since, I know I can do it. What makes my work unique is I just do what I want. I just try. I feel like a lot of music today is it's kind of all the same, but with a few like twists and turns to it. And I feel like music, there's a quote by Ray Charles actually, that music should be a story. And I've always really felt like music should try to convey a story. People should understand it fully. So, yeah. Today my titles were, one of the songs was Asada, which is about my friend Asada Goff, and just how much I love her. Second song was called Tender, because it's about how I just can't get down with hookup culture. No matter how hard I tried. And the last one was a cover of You Know I'm No Good by Amy Winehouse.
I do love the work from Kehinde Wiley, but honestly, inspiration comes from within and also without. I take nature, I put in my art. My favorite part, I enjoyed every single moment of the process, honestly, from being Instagram DM'd about this and oh my gosh, it's for people of color, I have to do this, I have to represent for A&T, like being able to create and then take it apart and then create again, that was amazing. And then actually being here, being able to speak about my artwork and listen to other artists it's inspiring, really. My work does show a sense of individuality with each piece. I don't like to copy and paste from other artists, but I do take inspiration from other artists and I make it my own. My first piece that has the blue magic and the combs and the edges, the baby hairs, that piece is called Beauty Salon. And that is completely made out of acrylic paints. And then my second piece, which have the braids, the braid backs, beautifuls, that piece is called Hair Did.
Okay.
I haven't always been the best at expressing myself, so it just gives me an outlet. And I love that it's free for interpretation, you know what I mean? So, just putting myself out there. My Miss Annie picture was inspired by my grandma. The Miss Susie propaganda poster was from the 1940s. My grandma was born in the 1950s, but she still faced a lot of boundaries and overcame them. So I wanted to just represent her. Black women are doing it, and it's not we can do it, it's we are doing it, so we did it. And my other painting is just a personal reflection of where I feel like I am in my life, continuing to push forward and ascend.
Why do I love poetry? I love words. I love the way words sound, the way words feel, the way they can flow together or clash with each other. I love the music and language. I love the way that they tell a story. I love telling stories. Poetry is in my blood, man. And there are things that I can't express to people that I can express through poetry, and I think that's really, really powerful. A lot of my work I write from personal experience, so I guess my life, my life inspires my work. Lately, I have been working on trying to write more affirming things because I write a lot about the Black struggle, the struggle of being a woman. I write a lot about my trauma. And so lately I've just been looking at my mom and just seeing how she's doing all the things. And so I want to work on a piece where I'm writing affirming things about Black women. And because my mom really does inspire me. My Mother's Day gift to my mom was called a mommy poem. And that was my way of expressing love to her. And so, I've always just kept a journal, multiple journals, now I use the notepad on my phone. Writing is just in my blood, so I can't really explain it. The inspiration behind a question was, I actually wrote it back in 2020, after the death of Ahmaud Arbery. And 2020 was just a really hard year because things were really building up, not just, in the United States, but within my own community. There was a lot of gun violence. I don't know what it was about 2020, but there was a lot of gun violence. And I was just tired of it, Our neighborhood was being gentrified, this is crazy. Why is there so much, why are our Black brothers specifically, but brothers and sisters too, why are their lives being taken? And so after hearing the news of Ahmaud Arbery's death, I think that just I was like, God, this does not make sense. And so that that came out of my soul. And till this day, I think it's probably one of the best pieces that I've ever written. If there was ever a time to make your promises ring true, it is now. I'm not commanding you, but I would like to remind you that your promises still ring true. You promised to overcome, you promised to avenge, you promised to destroy the wicked. You, God, you promised they would lie in their own despicable bed. Every day I lie in bed waiting for the day that we would be the ones to have their heads. God, I know that you are good. I know that you are righteous. I know that you are good, I know that you are righteous, but Lord, why? All this time I've been asking how, but what I really want to know is why. I'm sorry, help my unbelief. All I have left is my wrung-out heart filled with utter grief and disbelief. Honestly, I'm still reeling from the news that another young black king has been shot right out his running shoes. Thank you.
I'm loving what we've done with the place as far as student involvement. This is, I think, the most campus student involvement I've seen ever since I've been here in 2018. My favorite thing about the art show is just seeing everyone's pieces come together. We've been planning this for months, so seeing it all come to fruition in such a beautiful show, I just like seeing that.
This thing with the UNC Racial Justice Roadmap. I identified there was only quotes and we needed action items. So I hit up a new kid who went to the same high school. It was like, okay, you go to HBCU, I go to PUI, so let's come together. Throughout the year, she created virtual events, so she talked about time management. And so this is a reward. This in-person event is the last huge event. And hopefully we're going to continue this through ASG, but basically we added to the Racial Justice Roadmap. We funded students from MSIs and HBCU institutions. Most of the women here who are artists are Black women. I just want to say thank you to my institution. I feel loved, I feel supported, and we made history once again. Yeah.
In the future, I would just like to see more of that.
My favorite thing about the art show is getting to see what everyone came up with from one theme. I think that's always cool for any show that has a collective theme of work. This is us. I saw people, the great things from their cultures, the things that only affect them specifically, things that I don't even think about, or things that I feel are very familiar to me, and that's cool to see all those things connect with different people.
So the students from UNCG, North Carolina A&T, and UNC Asheville will be asking questions. Will be a Q&A, so you guys feel free to ask any questions you want.
Will be the panel because it just shows us, it allows us to get into the artist's mind and understand what they were trying to say and how they said it, and it just shows us that art can really be interpreted how you want it to be interpreted.
My favorite part about the art show is seeing other people that look like me making paintings that are, hard-hitting and speak a message. Usually in spaces where I've made art before, usually I'm around people who don't really look like me, so it can be pretty intimidating. So this was a really comfortable space for me.
I enjoyed how the artwork was displayed. I liked how you could walk around and interact with it a little bit. I wouldn't change that. This is the first time I've been around here and I love it. I didn't want to distract myself from driving, but I just could not help but to look and just to be indulged in the nature. I just love how it's just put in the terrain and the mountains. I've really never been here before, and honestly, my first impressions are very awe. I'm so in awe. So I love this. I love it here. It feels nice.
I really loved seeing the artwork that everyone had put together, and I really enjoyed listening to all of the musicians that got a chance to perform and really getting a chance to show off the BIPOC students.
Performers, oh my gosh, they were so good. So my favorite thing was how it came together and how we were able to really be in community, which I think is something that we missed for a while there with being so apart during the pandemic. And it was good to embrace people and hug people and shake people's hands and see people smile.
My favorite thing about the art show was definitely just watching it all come together, seeing the artists, seeing the community come out, hearing what inspired the different artists. Like, all of that was just a great experience that I feel like we've been missing out on through COVID. So I'm happy we're getting it back started, and I'm definitely excited to continue this legacy moving forward.
I think watching the artists and the organizers' faces when they were in the space and the music started and people started filtering through was incredibly rewarding. This has been months of planning and lots of problem solving, and I think there were moments where it seemed impossible, and being able to watch students really persevere and have it come together.
Right, it took a lot of work to get here, but the experience of walking through the space today and of seeing the relationships that have been built throughout this process, I think is a really good example of how, with a little elbow grease and a little compassion and a little bit of dedication, you can bring communities together across what feels like an impossible divide.
The most fulfilling part, I would say, has been, I guess, to see all of the art come in, like as it was coming in little by little. I was just really excited for the art. And then I also am really glad that our school was able to support a bunch of BIPOC artists and put together this show.
Stressful, but also pretty fun. I get to work with Grant, I get to work with Demon, I get to work with the rest of the Key Center and Oma, and I don't know, it's partly my job, but it's fun. It's fun. The video editing is a little tedious, but the end result is always worth it.
Working behind the scenes gives you so much more than just being up in the front. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it allows me to be more grateful for the people who do advocate, for the people who do work behind the scenes, for the people who literally do anything. I'm just grateful that we get to share this existence with one another, and it's made so relevant and so evident through events like this. And the amount of professionalism, despite, it being a small school, I think that being an Asheville Bulldog provides people with the ability to develop what it means to be professional, to be functioning citizens in a society that is basically making a political statement left and right. You really truly find who you are at UNC Asheville as a Bulldog, whether or not you want to, and I think that's what makes us stand out as a school.
Being physical, being actually in a gallery, interacting with it, I think that's a very different approach and a very different step as an artist. I think that kind of elevates your work and elevates your kind of practice a lot more. One of the most fulfilling parts of the art show is being able to document it and observe and kind of hear people's stories and their backgrounds, and kind of from an artist standpoint, but a BIPOC standpoint as well. And it's kind of very different takes to kind of what I'm used to back home, so it's very kind of enlightening and kind of humbling to some extent. It's kind of nice to kind of see this kind of event organised by a student to come together as well as it actually did.
So it's been stressful to work behind the scenes of this project, but if I had to do it all over again, I would. But overall, besides like the stress of like timing and like trying to find painters and then trying to reserve spaces and then seeing if everybody is available to help out, it just has been, I'll say, a fun process, a blessing in disguise, so to say.
I really love just having a space for people of color to just show off what they can do. I feel like just living in America, everything's pretty white dominant. And so having something, like for ourselves, it's just like, yes, like it's ours. And we can show off what we can do. There's no limits, there's no rules. And I really like that, the explicitness.
Being the voice for my people, really. Asheville still has a lot of growing to do, and I'm grateful that I get to be part of making history, like a BIPOC art event. Especially Leo. Want to shout Leo Elmore out. I didn't even meet this man, but I knew the emotions that were being depicted exactly. And then to find out like moments later that this man making art was mi gente, I was like, I get it, like I got it, like I didn't even know you, but I got it. And that was just so surreal to me. There is foundational infrastructure being made, especially with this event. I want to say that first and foremost as someone on the Senate of SGA, somebody who came from a conservative county in North Carolina, born and raised and never moved once, and came to Asheville, North Carolina as a means to expose myself to different cultures and different ways of life. This show in particular really allowed me to observe and see how much power people can hold when you give them a paintbrush and you allow them to speak their mind, not just with words, but with performance, with that pen and that poem, with that paintbrush and that canvas. You really see what's going on inside of people's minds and the things that we live through every single day as POC.
For me to be able to see them go through a range of emotions and some of the things that they have also experienced at this institution that have not been easy for them, and to see them continue to be strong in their identities and bring themselves forward in a celebratory way and be proud of who they are and grow their confidence and become activists and use art to really express that. That's been watching some flowers blooming over the years. And I feel like we've made deep connections too, because we've really ridden through some really tough times together. So I don't want any of these seniors to graduate, but I want them to graduate because they're gonna go out in the world and do incredible things.
It was difficult, not for me to believe in you all's ability to succeed, but to not step in and say, let me do this for you. Let me make this easier for you. Let me talk to so-and-so. Let me do blah, blah, blah. Because you all can handle it. And you did. You all can do anything. And you all have done countless anythings. And this is just another anything.
And yeah, I think it's just been really fulfilling to organize a show for BIPOC students to be heard and be seen, and for their artwork to be seen.
I'm proud to be one of the few Asians that are here. It's always good to represent my community in a positive way. And proud to be a Bulldog because I made a lot of friends here and a lot of good connections that I think I'll use later in life.
And that's a very interesting idea, bringing different kind of schools into a one organizational premise or event. It's very interesting and kind of fresh to me.
I really like the representation that they're showing for BIPOC students. Being a PWI, it can be really difficult being a person of color sometimes. So it's nice to know that we have different groups to be able to go to, whether that's BSA or Sankofa or any of the other wonderful organizations we have here, and be able to have a home away from home.
The community here at a PWI, you wouldn't expect the community to be so close-knit between BIPOC students, but it really is. Everyone here is like a family, and everyone here has your back, and it's just, I'm really happy to be a part of that community.
You know, my biggest thing from today was I hope people can learn how to celebrate themselves in the art forms that brings them joy. And just, you know, keep pursuing your passions and don't let anyone take that joy away from you.
Nice to kind of be behind the camera, hear stories, meet new people, meet new artists, meet new people from different walks of life, and kind of just document it all.
In that, I would like to see this be something that is used as a framework, right? Like this thing that you've created, I would like to see used as a model for how folks can continue to build this type of community across the system. But I want this to also be used as sort of a spark for other people to think as big and as creatively and as expansively and abundantly as you have.
And just working with all BIPOC students within the UNC system was a good way to not only represent ASG, but to represent what we need is that, you know, people at PWIs, they need, Black people, of course, BIPOC people, they need that support. And so this art show really gave that the support that they needed. And it was so touching to see the people just interacting with all type of people. That's what I want the world to be. You know, I want the world to, you know, be where it's like we're all connected. It's no division.
I think the fulfilling part of this project, of this art show, is seeing how many people showed up, as far as like poets, musicians, artists, supervisors, advisors, community partners, seeing how so many people were like on board, and having like artists like they're either freshmen or juniors or sophomores, and it's their first time that their art got recognized. Like, it makes me, like, this is us. Like, it explains, like, I see you, you know? And for them to say that they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel loved by UNC Asheville, it's like, wow, that's just the fulfilling part, you know? It's like, these people, this is something I remember for a lifetime.